And I'm saying this because I know I'm not the only one who sees the absence of the Democratic as a whole. Now, the Trump administration is doing its thing. As American citizens, as a native Black American, as an individual who was, a career Democrat, we see what's really on, because you can't live lies the entire time, the smoke and mirrors. Because the party of slavery is a Democratic Party. It is, and it always has been. And as a Black man, I'm seeing the destruction, man, once again, because when you really look at history, they put out wanted signs, a free slave, or what it would say, a runaway slaves, and all of this stuff. This is what the media is doing to Black men. Now, the Black race is Black men. Now, an African American is pretty much ran by, whoever they want to put in charge. And like I said, the Democratic Party has lost its way. Now, administration, the tariffs is not as bad as we thought they would be. Okay, you see, 2 weeks ago, the world was about to collapse. Everything was going to go in haywire, and Trump is going to collapse the economy and all of this stuff. And now that the smoke is starting to clear, it is a clear indication that it's going on the right track. When I say it's going on the right, meaning America should have been in a position that we're trying to get it to be in long time ago. But for whatever reasons, the dark money, individuals in, high places have somehow figured out a way to put Americans people, in a position of subjection and invest money and win all money in with the Democratic Party. And like I said, when you are a rich and influential individuals, you pretty much burn the candle from both ends. Invest in the Democratic policies, you invest in Republican policies, and whoever wins, you are in support of, because these billionaires are making big time money and big time dollars under the Trump administration. But the Democratic Party as a whole is starting to dismantle. Just look at it. Schiff, one of the major leaders of the Democratic Party, Dick Durham, one of the major leaders of the Democratic Party. Durham is pretty much resigning. Good morning to you. Durham is resigning. Okay. And Adam Schiff has been censored. Adam Schiff has been censored. And today we're pretty much talking about the state of the Democratic Party, because the Trump administration checkmate. And I appreciate that is, let me see here, Durbin. Dick Durbin, okay, is actually resigning, because the party is not the party that he signed up for. He's been in office since 1996. And now the powers that be are investing in hood rats in the form of Jasmine Crockett, sister who wears the lace front part to the side, with the lashes. But we know what's going on under there, because you and I know what's going on. So now we are ignorant individuals. Cory Booker did a filibuster a couple weeks ago. He was in the headlines for about a week, and what happened? It just went away. Okay, but prior to the Trump administration, from 2016, and even Trump administration, they was making a whole lot of noise. They were making a whole lot of noise. They impeachment. And then when Biden got in office, the impeachment didn't work. And then, Letitia James with the felonies and all of that. Now you're looking at a situation where Letitia James is being caught, and she's been exposed for the same crimes or the same felonious acts or capers that Donald Trump was found guilty on. So now she's out fundraising, because she feels and she understands that her time is, because first time, shame on me. Second time, shame on you. I respect the Trump administration because I respect the Oval Office. Okay, my Bible tells me render unto Caesar what is Caesar. So when I look at the Trump administration, I do not blame the Trump administration for retaliation. I do not blame the Trump administration for the way that they react and communicate, and how he comes after the fake news and how he goes after political enemies, because America should be the greatest nation in the world, even though she is. But we've invested and we've done a whole lot of things wrong, and we have pretty much sacrificed the future of America. And this is why the Trump administration is doing what it's doing. This is why you have Doge, the frivolous spending. This is why you have, all of these Department of Education being looked at. This is why we're looking at tax reform. This is why the Trump administration Republicans along as the working class, the nonpartisan Americans, just like myself, nonpartisan, independent, who's pretty much going to bat for the working class because the Democratic Party has decided to just pretty much, cry, fight, argue, and just do whatever they need to do to go viral, but they're not working for the American people. Because like I said, and I'm going to continue to say this, just imagine if the Democratic Party went and demanded a floor vote with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, tax exemption wage earners earning less than $150,000, okay, a $5,000 stimulus from the Doge frivolous spending findings with the Social Security, as well as a $3,800 stimulus check from the federal government. Just imagine if the Democratic Party decided to do that. Just imagine, because with with inflation, all that's going on in the world today, that will be something that will be specifically for the working class, and it will be beneficial to the working class because the working class has been paying America's bills for far too long. And these aforementioned, and three of them have been introduced on the House floor, will be working class bills, because no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on wage earners earning less than $150,000 is a working class bill. But for some strange reason, nobody fights for the working class. They fight for the immigrants. They fight for the broke, busted, and disgusted. They fight for the absolute poor because they feel like they need to give you a hand so they can act a Democratic brand of voter, because they somehow feel like if they give you aid, if they do something for you, then you will vote for them. But what we are doing right now is learning that the Democratic Party is over. And I'm gonna get into these comments. I see you're already at it. Good morning to you. So like I said, good afternoon on the East Coast. It's 9:53 here on the West Coast in Los Angeles, California. So listen, we got to understand, man, this is our moment in history. Okay, our Democratic elected officials has let us down. The Democratic Party is branding is starting to come out to be a fraud. Just think about it. Starting to come out to be when you have individuals resigning, when you have Adam Schiff, who is the leader of the Democratic Party, who's been censored, meaning, the Russia collusion, the Steele dossier, the Mueller report, all of these things came out to be a lie. And he's still in office. Think about it. No one could trust the party. These are not my words. These are what I'm hearing on the House floor. No one trusts the party anymore. And appreciate the good. No one trusts the party. We cannot trust our elected officials anymore. And I'm not, like I said, I'm a lifelong Democrat who decided in 2016 to pretty much just see how it would be to be an independent. And now I am an individual like pretty much being the Republican and the Democrat. So since the Democratic Party is not working for the working class, or the American people, when I study the Constitution, I see the letterhead in Old English writing that says "we the people." So now the Democratic Party is being exposed. Now we get an opportunity to just fight for the rights of us. And like I said, as nonpartisan independents, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I pretty much want to lobby Congress, lobby the president for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, tax exemption for wage earners earning less than $150,000. Think about that, as well as a $5,000 stimulus check as well as the $3,800 federal stimulus check, because they found trillions of dollars and they have enough money to basically pay off America's debt, as well as put some cushion in bank accounts of the working class. So now that our Democratic elected officials are much gone mute, the only one you hear about right now who's viral, who's going on the the late night talk show circuit is Jasmine Crockett. Okay, and Jasmine Crockett is pretty much queen of the science of Willie Lynch, because Willie Lynch said, once we get the woman in the house with us, we could actually sleep comfortable at night. All the disrespect that she does, the way she talks, the way she acts is classless. Okay, our ancestors fought so hard to be a head above shoulders. Our ancestors fought so hard to be better than the rest. And now we are investing in some hood rap, popping, laid wig, part to the side, big eyelash wearing sister, because like I said, if she looking in the mirror when she take all that stuff off, that's who you really are. You know what's going on, because you can't trust people like that. Okay, it's like a clown. It's like me right here with a red nose and paint all over my face, and I'm just a clown. But at the end of the day, behind this clown posterity is still me. And is when you true to yourself and you're true to your God, you can come out, turn on these devices and be true with the American people, because the Democratic Party is over. And just like I put in the caption, checkmate. Okay, check. Okay, they tried to assassinate President Trump. Now he's the president of the United States of America, and he's moving America into the best position that it's ever been in history. Because like, if you go back and look at all the histories, go back to Ronald Reagan, go back to Jimmy Carter, go back to Bill Clinton, go back to Barack Hussein Obama, go back to George W. Bush. All of these individuals are on record speaking about tariffs with China. Now, if you did not know, I did a video with Nancy Pelosi on the House floor in 1996 about tariffs with China. Okay, China is a enemy of the United States. We pretty much have been showing so much to the world that we're pretty much leaving America in the dark, because if they decided to just cut off all of our resources, we're not producing oil, we're not producing energy, we're not producing petroleum, gas, we're not in our own furniture. Look at these sites like Temu and all these other things that's pretty much coming out of China, made in China. So now the manufacturers are coming back. This is what the tariffs was. It was leverage to get these foreign entities to invest in America. And they are lining up by droves to basically come to America so they can actually continue to make money and pretty much manufacture and create millions of jobs in America. Because when I look at the state of the Democratic Party, and I need you guys to really be adults here, where are the Democrats? Where are the Democrats? Okay, when you live lies, you can only be silent. And if they act, you can only, throw rocks and stones at the opposition. But we all know that's not them, it's you. Okay, because when I look at what's going on from a political perspective, when I look at Adam Schiff being censored, this was who headed the Trump, all of the issues trying to take away Trump, trying to destroy his candidacy, trying to destroy his presidency, trying to do everything to destroy Trump. What happened? He lied about the Mueller report. He lied about the Steele dossier. He tried to impeach Trump on 2 different occasions. He was the person in charge of the Trump impeachment. Okay. And Hakeem Jeffries was this right-hand man. But it never happened. Okay. So now what? He's censored. Letitia James pretty much prosecuted Trump on these, paperwork crimes, and all of these things, and come to find out that she's guilty of the same crimes. You see what I'm saying? So you look at this Democrat, Democratic elected official, then you look at Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, who's pretty much is in trouble right now for lying about, personal situation. Because like I said, paperwork is paperwork for the gander, and no one is above the law. So good luck to you, Miss Letitia James. And then you look at the Democratic cities, these sanctuary cities. Look how New York went. Okay, but they're getting it back together because Eric Adams is pretty much cronies with Trump. But then you look at cities like Los Angeles. Karen Bass did the state of LA this week and announced that there's going to be layoffs of thousands of jobs. Thousands of city workers will be laid off in the city of Los Angeles. And this is a situation where they cannot blame Donald Trump. Okay. The city is in debt and it's over budget by over billions of dollars. Okay. I don't have the exact number, but it's in the form of billions of dollars. So to make up that deficit, you're going to have to lay off wage earners at, in terms of a combined income of billions of dollars. So you're talking about thousands of layoffs. And this is the city of Los Angeles. So is that Trump's fault? No, it's called city management, the mismanagement of funds. And they call it natural disasters, but no, Edison's going to get off because arson started these fires. Okay, but see, they want to put out in the media the smoke screen and tell you, because like I said, that was not a natural disaster. And it was kind of crazy that the mayor of Los Angeles was in Ghana and on the continent of Africa when all of these things happened and did not have any form of communication until the next day. Think about that. You can't blame Trump for that. You can't blame Trump for that. And Gavin Newsom, his time over. So he has to, figure out what he's going to do. And this is the same individual that lost the support of the native black Americans because pretty much shelved the reparations conversations. So we don't rock with Gavin no more due to the fact that we put all the work in talking about reparations in the state of California just to pretty much say that he will veto it if the bill came to his table. So then you look at the city of Chicago, another sanctuary city, okay, where the mayor is getting, on a daily basis, they're going through a whole lot. So the Democratic Party is over as we see it, and you cannot continue to forever. Okay, the Democratic Party was built on lies. The party of slavery, the party of Jim Crow, the party of whites only, the party of mass incarceration. And still to this day, black Americans are documented as slaves because the 13th Amendment reads neither slavery nor voluntary servitude unless criminalized. And now you see criminalization of rich, influential black men. Look what's going on with Shannon Sharpe. Okay, they know what's been going on. Look what's going on with Shannon Sharpe. They're putting the mass media that this man is in the form of using the word rape. And I'm here to tell you right now, he didn't rape anybody. Okay, I listened to the partial tape and we're waiting for the entire tape. And not going to throw him under the bus, but the way that he's talking, he's rude, disrespectful. Okay, but I don't see or hear anything about rape. Okay, now there's a lot of pauses in the video. I did a video yesterday. You could go to my main page and check it out. But there's a lot of pauses. Okay, so it seems like the video was edited. Okay, to the point to make it seem like, he pretty much said some things, but there's no record of him doing anything. Like when Puffy got caught up, we saw the tape. We saw him physically abusing Cassie. This is when we sat back and said, you know what? We can't say it is what it is. But with the Shannon Sharpe situation right now, only thing smear campaign, because I heard that he was pretty much under contract negotiations for $100 million when it comes to his club Shay Shay and whatever he's doing. And it looks like, and I'm hearing that he was getting into late night television. So the powers that be who want to protect their brand, this is what they do. And it's the party of slavery that's doing it, because the difference between putting out a memo wanted, runaway slave, and then put out another memo about Shannon Sharpe raping a female when all they got is him having a conversation with her. And it seems like they were just doing some real kinky, sex. Okay, so when we hear the whole tape, then we'll, make our assessment. But right now, you're innocent until proven guilty. But contrary to popular belief, there's not even a criminal case here. It's a money grab. But the fact that he offered $10 million, that's a question. And we're really going to dissect it. But we need to find out we need to hear the whole tape and not believe what they're telling us, because the Democrats will lie about anything. It's the party of slavery. And it's crazy that the party of slavery got so many black faces in high places. And the science of Willie Lynch says, once we control the black female, we can be comfortable at night because she will go out and do our dirty work. She will speak for us as if she was us. He will speak for us as if he was one of us. Okay, and this is where you get the coon, the Sambo, and the bed wenching concubine. Okay, they're comfortable. Because as a Democrat, you are part of the biggest lie in American history. The Democratic Party separated from the Union to preserve slavery, meaning they wanted human beings as slaves. And they did that. And even though they lost the Civil War, they came with the Vagrancy Act of 1866, meaning if you was a newly free slave, you didn't have anywhere to go. You appeared to be, vagrant. You was looking for love like that, jobless, homeless. They would put a ball and chain on your ankle. You were forced to perform free labor through the entire time of Reconstruction. So the entire South was rebuilt on free labor. And now you have a clause in the Constitution. And what they do when they criminalize you and lock you up. Look what's going on, with Big U, Eugene Henley. They're pretty much saying that he's some type of mafia leader, but lock him up. Okay. Look what's going on, how they did Marvin Sapp. Marvin Sapp, pretty much as a preacher, told them to lock the doors because it was offering time. They surfaced a video that happened over 8 years ago, put him in the mainstream media. Why? As a distraction, because we won't see what's really going on. So we won't pay attention to the good news of what's going on. It's crazy. It's crazy. So what's the difference? They're using the same tactics. When I think about the wanted signs of the slaves and runaways and the black codes and all of that, it's the same thing when they pretty much put you out there in the court of public opinion. Okay, and the court of public opinion is powerful. They'll find anything on you because they want you to focus very low vibration things so we won't pay attention to what's really going on in the world. But when they do things like that, this is when I start paying attention. This is when I went and saw them silence or censor Adam Schiff and pretty much to his face that he lied about the Mueller report. He lied about the Steele dossier. He lied about the collusion with Russia. And we're going to sit back and continue to support a party that can't be trusted. Think about that. And then you got Durbin, who's retiring. Good morning to you. Hello. Who's retiring because the Democratic Party is in shambles. See, sometimes you too early, sometimes you're too late. But we are looking at a reckoning. The chicken's home to roost. We are witnessing the destruction of one of the greatest political parties in American history. And the reason why, because you cannot build a solid foundation on the lies. Okay, it takes ignorant individuals. This is why they didn't want the black race to read. It takes ignorant individuals. This is why they invest in terrible public school education, because you thinking for yourselves. This is why the Democratic Party has all of these career politicians, and they pretty much tell you what to do and what to think. And then they try to get you to throw stones at the truth bearers. But at the end of the day, the truth shows we're going to keep the same energy, because the Democratic Party is not the party of the people. The party of the people is the people. OK, and the Constitution says we the people. So we the people, the working class, which includes the middle. OK, we don't want to demonize individuals because of their wealth. You have individuals who want to, rob and destroy rich men. Think about it. The home invasions and all of these things, the attack on Tesla. You have human beings that's pretty much trying to destroy something that human beings built and worked hard to get into a position that they're in. And then you have, individuals who wants to debate class in the form of white men who have class issues. And then the ecosystem is turned up, and then they motivate and inspire you to try to assassinate presidents, to pretty much to try to loot, destroy, and do all these things because they demonize. But at the end of the day, if you had your life together, if you were a hard worker, if you had morals, if you was paying attention, now you see why we as Americans have decided to organize and to create the biggest coalition in American history. And that's the working class coalition. And that includes, the working class as well as the middle class. OK, it doesn't even matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, because within the next 4 years in the Trump administration, we're not going to sit back and watch these two rivaling tribes fight amongst each other and try to destroy each other. We're going to sit back and we're going to step up, actually take them and do the work and the will of the people. And the will of the people is no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, tax exemption for wage earners earning less than $150,000, a $5,000 stimulus check, as well as a $3,800 stimulus check from the federal government to balance the gap when it comes to inflation. This is what the working class wants. This will pretty much help every American citizen. So this is why when I have conversations with people, why should rich people get tax break? Who cares about the rich people? OK, what about the worst? What about the people who want to be rich? And then if you could get rich, then you could get wealth. What's wrong with that? But somehow, some way, we've demonized richness or wealth. We've demonized, individuals who are in a different tax bracket. But now that we understand with this grand phenomenon, Social Security, and what's going on, what they found in the Social Security and all the frivolous spending. This is why the Democrats are so mad. This is a scam. And this is how they stole that election. Who's there? And this is how they stole that election. OK, because they had documented 1.9 million people who are deceased over 119 years old receiving checks. So when you mail in ballots to all Americans, then that's 1.9 million mail-in ballots, because you're pretty much using, the form of the Social Security services to justify the individuals. And then now, when you have the conversation, they say there was no evidence of widespread cheating. It didn't have to be widespread. Cheating is cheating. Okay. And then, just like the slap in the face where you have Democratic elected officials, and this is how I know they're compromised, they're pretty much fighting, trying to, retrieve deported illegal gang members. Okay. But where was that energy when Bill Clinton wrote that 94 crime bill, told the black man, if you do the crime, you pay the time. Okay. Just sacrificed us. So this is why we got to get out from under the Democratic rulership, because Dr. King said it himself before his assassination. He believed that he'd people into a burning house when it comes to integration, because before integration, we had a Negro League. Before integration, we had Black Wall Street. Before integration, we had black wealth, and the black nuclear family was at 70%. We integrated. They pretty much destroyed whatever the black economy was and forced us to support their economy. Okay. Game recognized game. The player we hate in the game. So now there's an opportunity for us to do right by the will of the people. So that's why we're entertaining the fact of building communities, because our hoods are literally what we call concentration camps. Okay, people in the dense concentrated area, you put the drugs in the community, you put the community. So now they're drugging themselves, they're killing themselves, and then they're poorly educated. So you literally got them living in a concentration camp with no walls. That live in South Central Los Angeles that haven't even been to Hollywood or even Orange County. That's a concentrated, dense area. So now we're studying, and now we're starting to learn and speak to economists worldwide, because we understand if we don't recycle, then we will never be a community. So it's time to build communities, black communities, social communities. We want to be assets and not liabilities in the United States. Okay. We don't want to be a liability. We don't want we want your Medicaid. We don't want your handouts. Okay. We want to be an equal part, but we can't be an equal partner when you have a democratic system that's built on oppression, that pretty much will destroy anything that you have. What lives matters. Okay, remember George Floyd and Black Lives Matters and all of this? They pretty much, took that whole operation. The females who started Black Lives Matters, we don't even see them anymore. And they used them to pretty much enrich them, just like they did with the Civil Rights Acts in 1964. The Civil Rights Act was predicated on segregation, was predicated on race, the black race, not no migrants, not the LGBTQ LMNOP, none of these things. It was off of, being segregated and rude and disrespectful when it comes to blacks. Okay. But what happened? We cut a deal with the devil. And what happened? The civil rights included white women in a form of, the Women's Live organization. The Civil Rights Acts include white men. Okay. In the form of the gays. So what happened? They destroyed the black community as we know it. Like 1964, the black nuclear family was between 64 and 67%. Okay. And then within 10 years, of welfare, 10 years of Women's Live, 10 years of the woman not needing a man, 10 years. And then the drugs and the heroin, think about it, totally destroyed. Because if you take the infrastructure, if you take the leadership out of the household, then what do you have? What we have right now. And this is why black are disassociating themselves with political parties as a whole, whether it's Republican, Democrat. We're lining ourselves up as nonpartisan independents and being the leaders that we are, because the black race is led by black men. The African-American race by black women and homosexual men, black men. Okay. Those are your African-Americans. That's an ethnicity. We are a race of people, and we trace our ancestry to the slave ship called the White Line in Jamestown, Virginia in the year of 1619. So that's, if you do the math on a 365-year day calendar, the 400-year biblical prophecy is over. So now it's time for us to get the great wealth. And wealth does not mean monetary. It is health, it's protection. It's all the rights that our ancestors couldn't get us to vote for or get us to get passed, because When I studied the Emancipation Proclamation, and it took me a long time to really learn and understand that that was merely an acknowledgement. No slaves was free. We wasn't free. That was an acknowledgement. We acknowledged the fact that you are slaves and we shouldn't do it, and full human beings. Okay, you're not 3/5 anymore. You are a full human being. Okay, that's all the Emancipation Proclamation was, a proclamation, a proclaiming of us being human beings. So we understand that we in a position right now, we at a crossroad. So our Congressional Black Caucus is silence. If the Cory Bookers of the world are pretty making fools of themselves, silence. If Hakeem Jeffries is silent, if Maxine Waters wants to pretty much have issue and take down Donald Trump, that's fine and all. That's why the black men and black men are pretty much taking the mantle for ourselves, and we are seeking what we call a constitutional amendment. And they left the door open for this so-called person with felonies. So this so-called, person, the orange man, Donald Trump, they left the door wide open for Donald Trump to be the greatest president in America. Can you imagine if Donald Trump sat with us, and I'm speaking to the Trump administration, sat with us and pretty much signed an executive order, to ratify the 13th Amendment, take the criminalization clause off of it, and to pretty much free and liberate the black race and invest in education instead of these prisons, and broke us off in the forms of reparations because they're having conversations about the trillions of dollars that's in the Freedmen's Bank group, who was pretty much headed by Otis Howard, but due to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, pretty much allowed him to create Howard University, a black institution. Could you imagine if Donald Trump sat with us? Now, I know there are some naysayers. We've been rocking with the Democratic Party this whole time, but they could care less about us. They lock us up and throw the key, but they'll be willing to leave the country to go get, a MS-13 gang member who's clearly been documented a gang member. Okay, but when it comes to us, just lock us up and throw the key. And it's sad that 1 in every 3 black men has been behind bars. That's crazy. 1 in every 3. Think about it, has been in which is municipal, state, or federal prison or institution. That's crazy. And that's because slavery never ended. Okay. Because the criminalization of black men, you still have, if you look at the, videos, or if you go online, you look Karens, they're still trying to, make up things to pretty much, falsely accuse or get the black man convicted. And then you look at these rich and influential that they're tearing down in the media every day. I mean, Shannon Sharp, come on, where's the crime here? Okay, he's going to be exonerated, but he may lose his job with ESPN. He may lose that $100 million deal, but he may be exonerated. Entire tape come out because, there's no evidence at all of him raping anyone. And it's sad that the media is allowing him to do that and not censor it or say it's fake news or, misinformation like that. Because like I said, Shannon Sharp is a big buck black slave, and his job is to make massive money. Just like Stephen A. Smith. His job is to make massive money. Stephen A. Smith signed a $100 million deal. So that means Disney got way more than $100 million. And like I said, if you pay me $100 million, $20 million a year, I may tread lightly and don't bite the hand that feeds me. So I understand it. But some of us are not compromised, because if they don't make you, they can't break you. And this is why we got to be careful, because if you want to be with them and be a part of them, then you have to lose yourself. Just like the devil told Jesus, if you follow me, okay, I'll make you, all of this and all of that. I'll take, so what I'm saying is, just said away what you say. So basically, if you sign this contract, you are not you anymore. You work for them. And Kendrick Lamar, he's wrong. They not like us. That's what he's talking about. So it's time for us to free ourselves and liberate ourselves, number one, from the Democratic Party, which means we got to socially and economically, start thinking about our future for our children's children. We got to separate ourselves from this two-party system, and we got to fight for the rights of all humanity. And that's one race, and that's the human race. Because if Donald J. Trump, and I'm going to speak from a prophetic perspective, if Donald J. Trump signs that executive order and pretty much take the criminalization clause off of the Constitution, okay, he will be the greatest president in American history. And he will pretty much change the wealth gap from a generational wealth gap perspective, because this is they put that document in there because they're not going to pay the slaves. And like I said, we're not asking for anything. We're demanding our inheritance, because our ancestors built this nation on free labor. Because anybody living and that's rich and wealthy and didn't get rich through tech or anything, it was passed down through generation. And they had a 400-year head start. So the game is actually rigged. So this is why we cannot align ourselves with the Democratic Party anymore, because Adam Schiff is a liar. Adam Schiff is corrupt. He can't be trusted. These are not my words. These are the words of his colleagues. He can't be trusted. You know, our elected officials can't be trusted. If you lie on a report, if you lie about the Steele dossier, if you lie about the Russian collusion and still not come clean today, you'll lie about anything. So we can't trust you. Okay. And then you look at Letitia James, the district attorney, the Democratic DA, pretty much job was to take down Donald Trump. And now she's being charged for the same crimes. And now the big payback is here. And I don't blame President Trump for the get back. I don't blame him for, going after these individuals, went after him. And then you look at the collapsing of these Democratic cities. LA is about to lay off the city of Los Angeles. Okay. Sanctuary city. Got sanctuary city money, got money for the homeless. We bills, during the midterms and all of that. But what's going on? Why is the city in debt by forms of billions of dollars? Why is the city going to lay off? And Karen Bass said it herself, is going to lay off thousands of city workers. Why is Chicago going through what it's going through? Why all these city girl mayors and all these individuals that they put in place over the last 4 years, where are they? They committed what we call suicide. Only what you do for God will last. And this is why we want to end racism, okay, with a constitutional amendment to take the criminalization clause off the Constitution, because that 13th Amendment only refers to black men. Think about that. And it's sad that the roles are switching, because our sisters are worse. They're more ignorant than us. They have no class. They're disrespectful, all of that. So how are we going to switch? How are we going to change it? It is what it is. It is what it is. So like I said, this is a beautiful time to be alive. It's a beautiful time to be living, because we got an opportunity to right the wrongs of the past. And we got to have these conversations. We got to have these conversations as from one egotistical man to another. I truly believe that if we can, continue to kick up enough noise, continue to have these conversations, I believe Donald Trump's heart, I believe he had an intervention with God when, whether you say it was ketchup or not, bullets was whizzing. OK, 2 individuals died that day. Actually, 3 individuals died that day, 2 in the crowd and the shooter himself. OK, and I believe that Donald Trump, prayed when he was down there, and when he got up, he was a changed man. So now that these things have come into play, and now that we're in the position that we're in, we need to speak to that man's heart and get him to understand what's going on. We're not Democrats. We're American citizens. I say I'm a native Black American because the Black American history starts, indigenous natives was here already, but they started meaning Black Americans the year 1619 in Jamestown, Virginia. Go ahead and look it up. Okay, the 20 odd Black men came in on a slave ship called the White Lion, okay, in Jamestown, Virginia. And they got names, they got birth certificates, birth records, and that's over 400 plus years ago. So we are natives. So when we talking about America first, we don't have a problem with that, because this is our homeland. I could care less about Africa. I have to go home. Africa is not my home. OK, my home is the United States of America, and I trace my ancestry back to Jamestown, Virginia, near 1619. Chase my ancestry back to 1400, over 1400 Glovers fight the Civil War, because in North and South Carolina, they were breeding Glovers. When I say breeding, they were breeding Glovers. How do you have 1400 fighting in the Civil War with the same last name as Glover? Think about that. So that's a historical artifact for you know what. And this is why America has to pay up. OK, they defaulted on their promissory note. And the only we can't have this conversation because we sold our soul to the Democratic Party. We sold our soul to the Democratic Party. Gays fights for gay rights. Women fight for women's rights. So why the Black man can't fight for the rights of himself and his family? and his heritage. Okay, we got the history. So now it's time for us to man up, and it's time to do what we need to do as human beings and get to that next level. That's what we got to do. We can and we will. We can't trust our elected officials anymore. We can't trust the Adam Schiffs of the world. He's been censored. Okay. He's been censored. And then you have elected officials that are actually retiring. They don't even want to run again because the party is over. Okay, we are witnessing the dismantle of the Democratic Party as we speak. The black man has been abandoned by the party a very long time ago, and the black man is continued to be used as his blood sacrifice. So when you throw Shannon Sharp in the media, when you throw P. Diddy in the throw Jay-Z in the media, when you throw Kanye West in the media, when you go after religious people, throw them in the media, the TD Jakes of the world, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's no different than in slavery time. Runaway slave. Okay, that was the media. Those are what you call liberals, as well as the scribes in the Bible, doing the same thing today. They'll put a post out, and I saw an individual who did a video about Sharp and these, Big U. They had barely 1,000 subscribers, but the video that they put out, 1 million views. And these platforms, have the power to put it out there. But I refuse to go against my integrity. I'm going to stand my ground because I truly believe, I'm doing the will of God. Okay, I believe that because Jesus left us a position. And when he was here, he said he didn't come to change the scribe or the Pharisees. And the scribe is a liberal and the Pharisees is a Republican to fulfill. So to fulfill is the least of these is all people. So this is why we got to speak to the president's heart and get this constitutional amendment and pretty much end racism, because there should be just one race, and that's the human race. Okay, and America is not a democratic republic. It's a republic. To the republic stands one nation under God. It is what it is. And as a city slicker, I'm in the comments now. Somebody said, sing Dixie. See, you're looking at a polished black man, okay, from the city. Okay, there's no Southern Dixiecratic nothing in me. I'm a black man who has pride, who has morals, and understand that the Democratic Party has made it. Okay, we don't do losers. Okay, the way that they lost, the way that they try to put bedwench and concubine Kamala Harris, okay, as a presidency, and then throw Obama out there and says, you just don't want to vote for her because she's a woman. No, not that woman. Okay, they're grooming Jasmine Crockett. Okay, so beware of what's going on. So what I'm saying is, there's no Coonan, there's no Sambo, none of that. I ain't even no Uncle Tom. I'm a black man who understands righteousness, and I'm fighting for the rights of American people. Somebody put in the comments, are you MAGA? I'm not a MAGA. Okay, I'm MAG, make America great. This is the country my ancestors built. No, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a nonpartisan independent. Okay, I'm standing in the gap of both sides. It is what it is. It is what it is. And somebody put, denying the race of others because of your religious beliefs is okay. So basically it is polished legacy legends gaming, because I said, once we get this constitutional amendment, once we speak to the president's heart and get this constitutional amendment and take the criminalization clause off of the Constitution, because that criminal clause is predicated on the black man, period. That's it. Once we do that, then it will be one race. And that's the human race. And what I'm doing right now is working for and fighting for the working class, whether you're white, Asian, Chinese, or indifferent, as long as you're American. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, no tax on wage earners earning less than $150,000, a Doge stimulus check of $5,000, a $3,800 check from the federal government to balance the inflation, the cost of eggs, the gases, etc. That's not just for black people. That's for everybody. I just happen to be black. Just think about it. Okay. Well, I'm not excluding anything. It's only 3 races on this planet. Okay. Black, white, and Mongolian. Okay. And that's the Asian. Okay. And all the races came from who? The black race. That's documented. Okay. Go study Dr. Leakey. Okay. Because the human fossils is on the continent of Africa. So it is what it is. So now you have the opportunity to have a conversation with a real man. Okay, not a compromised man. You're having a conversation. So go ahead and, throw those comments out there, because what I'm saying is one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. America can be an awesome, beautiful country, but we got to stop playing these games. Okay, mass incarceration was signed into law by Bill Clinton, a Democrat. Mass incarceration, 3 striking you out, was the 94 crime bill, was promoted by a former president, Joseph Robinette Biden. Hillary promoted the bill as well, and she called us super predators and said we needed to be brought to heel. On the Senate floor, the 3 striking you out, 94 crime bill passed 96-4. 96 and only 4 Republicans decided to go against it. That means everybody was in on locking the black man up. And this is why the criminalization clause, we're in the position that we're in right now, because we got to right the wrongs of the past. You go back and study your history. If you go back and study your history and fix the problems back then, you're creating a better future. Okay. And God told us that we're supposed to make this a better place. We're supposed to leave an inheritance to our children's. But if we continue on the threshold that we're on, or if we continue on the path that we're on, have another civil war and nobody's going to survive. So we got to be smart. We got to figure this thing out, and we got to understand it. Okay. Because I'm for all humanity. I'm what they call a Homo sapien. Okay. I'm a human being. I love all humans. My Bible tells me that. Okay. And it talks about the least of these. Everybody's involved. So just because, you have a good job or we had a great career does not mean we're supposed to pay more and all of that. We're supposed to be getting from the sacrifices and the hard work. So this is why no tax on tips, no tax on time, no tax on Social Security, tax exemption for wage earners earning less than $150,000 literally is income tax exemption. And then over $150,000, just tax it at a 10%, because it's not fair that someone that earns $500,000 or $1 million has to be taxed at 37%. Meaning if you earned $1 million, you got to give them $370,000. And that's not fair. That's not right. And we got to really pretty much have this conversation. So tax reform is on the table, because if we can add a cent or two retail tax, that will pretty much take care of all the taxes. We had M here in LA for the Metro Rail from Hollywood through South Central, from Hollywood Boulevard to the 105 freeway. We voted Measure M to pretty much a 2-cent tax to fund the operation. Within 6 months, there was $480 million. So it is what it is. And we do know if the American people have more money, they will spend more money. It's called a stimulus. We with the economy, and with the frivolous spending and the wasteful spending that Doge has found, we could pay off our debt, and we could start building and start getting our infrastructure together and creating jobs here in America and start making goods and services here in America. And I'm down with what the president is saying, resources as well. Drill, baby, drill. It is what it is. We could be a global power, which we are, but we can be a country without poverty. We could be a country without racism. We could be a country of wealth. We could be of wealth. So we got to figure this thing out, man. We got to figure this thing out. And I'm sure that I answered that question because, just because you see a black man in a suit, that's articulate, does not mean, he's a, okay. My soul is not for sale. The only thing I sold my soul to is God Almighty. Okay. If you go ahead and look at my page, look at my channel, I'm not compromised. I'm not a puppet. You tell me what to do or what to say. Okay. And I have to fight these algorithms because they're telling me to talk about Club Shay Shay or Shannon Sharp today. I'll put a video out and talk about that tomorrow. But the American people, we're not going to be abandoned by the Democratic Party. In 4 years, we're going to have pretty much the most progress that we've ever had as a people. And that's real. It is what it is. It is what it is. You're a white wing. No. Somebody put you're a right wing. No, I'm a centrist. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a theocrat. And let me explain to you what a theocrat is. A Democrat, okay, the word demo, the root word for demo is demon, diablo, or devil. The word crat is to rule or rule by in Greek. So if you put it together, it's ruled by the devil. Republican Party, to the republic, which stands one nation under God. So republic means supreme power, okay, but the republic is the supreme power of the United States of America. The Democratic Party is the opposition, which makes them anti-American. Think about that. But a theocrat, the word theo means God or God, theo. Okay, crat, is rule or rule by. A theocrat is ruled by God. Okay, to the republic which stands one nation under God. Okay, one nation under God. We are a God-fearing nation. And once we put God in the conversation, then that's going to make us love on each other. That's going to make us, want to support one another. That will stop an individual from murdering. That'll stop an individual from killing. That'll stop our poor educational system. It'll stop a whole lot of things. So this is why when you step up and you try to do something that's right, some ignorant individual who don't even love themselves is compromised. And they'll things out of character, but then you just go ahead and throw it back on them, because I understand the person wrote the comment that they didn't understand what they were doing. They just going by what they experienced or what they heard somebody say. Because you're looking at a black man from South Los Angeles who loved this nation, who loved this country, who attended a HBCU, learned about, American history, learned about Reconstruction, learned about all things when it comes to the United States, studied that Constitution. I can actually be classified as a constitutionalist. This is why we're going after the Third Amendment. We're going to speak to the president's heart, because if he wants to be hands down the greatest president in American history, he will amend the 13th Amendment and ratify it and take the criminalization clause off of it, because we invest, and I can only speak for the state of California, we invest $114,000 for an inmate. So to house a prisoner in the state prison system costs the state $114,000. But then if you flip the script, that's a big investment. If you flip the script, they only pay $10,000 annually for a student in the Los Angeles Unified School District. So they're investing in prisons. So clearly they're investing in prisons, and our elementary schools and our bad schools is a prison pipeline system, which has to be, about, okay, because it gets deep, but as a black man, my job is to educate you. My job is to light a spark and to get you to think, because critical thinking is a good thing. Okay. Reflection is actually stronger than faith. So reflecting on the past. Okay. Democratic Party is the party of slavery. The Democratic Party, is the party of Jim Crow, the party of racism, hangings and the lynchings. When you look at all the American artifacts or the American films of the civil rights movement, of the water hosing, the bombing of churches, that was in the Democratic South. And these cities are still Democratic to this day. They just have black faces in those positions, which is actually protecting and promoting white supremacy. Because Lynch said it himself, we could sleep good at night if we got the black woman in the house with us. We could do that. It is what it is, so we got the thing out. And then somebody said, I'll let Biden say it, Kamala, you ain't black. Okay, Kamala Harris, Indian again. Okay, like I said, I'm a Negro. Okay, my birth certificate. So I hope that wasn't for me, because my birth certificate says Negro. Contrary to popular belief, it says Negro. It is what it is. It says Negro. Let me see here. Okay, you guys are pretty much commenting and going against each other, but I appreciate y'all, man. You guys have an amazing day. And from a new talking point perspective, okay, somebody said the oldest talking point. So let me go ahead and just break it down. Okay, this is what we're looking for in the next 4 years. No tax on tax reform, number one. No tax on tips. No tax on overtime. No tax on Social Security. Tax exemption for wage earners earning less than $150,000. And that includes everybody. Okay, that's a beautiful bill. That would be beautiful. Okay, so break us off with that $5,000 stimulus check that Elon Musk is talking about. Also, $3,800 stimulus check from the federal government to pretty much stimulate the economy, as well as give us a little cushion based on what's going on in inflation. And a basic tax bracket of 10% max. Okay, meaning if you make over $500,000, you're only paying that 10% because it's not fair. Okay, it's not fair. Okay, and elimination of let me see, capital gains tax. Get rid of that. Okay, these are new talking points, brand new talking points that are so brand new you never heard of them before. And it's sad that our Democratic Party and our Democratic elected officials are not going to back us, because, man, it would be a beautiful thing if the Democrats said, you know what, we got to stop lying to the American people. We got to stop going after Trump. Let's go to bat for the American people, to the House floor, and let's vote on no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. for the first block, and then the second block we'll work that out. But if we could get those 3 bills passed, those would be working class bills that will help everybody class. It is what it is. And as we sit back and we watch the checkmate in the dismantling of the Democratic Party, look what's going on in our major cities. And I'm here in Los Angeles, and based on what Karen Bass said, the mayor of Los Angeles, there's going to be thousands of layoffs for city workers. Thousands. It is what it is. It is what it is. Let me see here. And it is what it is. So, man, with that being said, man, I appreciate you guys. Guys, hit that like, hit that notification, hit the subscription, because we're pretty much going to stick to the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So help us, God. And God bless you. And I'm your man, Bushan Glover.